Hello, welcome to Module 7. So we are starting the individual oils for working with the Shen and the Spirit. And just a note on that, all essential oils work with the Shen. So there's the Calm Shen category. We'll talk about oils from there. And then we're going to talk about oils from a couple of other categories too. Clear heat, open the portals, cool blood, nourish blood, regulate qi. But lots of oils going to help work with calming the Shen. And a lot of that has to do with like what is agitating the Shen. You know, is it heat? Is it deficiency? Is it phlegm? Is it qi stagnation? All of these different things that can be causing the Shen to be disturbed and disrupted. So oils from lots of different categories can fit this bill. So just keep in mind what we're talking about is some of the ones that are better known for this function and do a great job with it, but it's by no means limited to the individual oils that we're going to cover here. And you guys are obviously experienced practitioners, so you understand this. But I just thought I would point it out. So don't limit yourself to these oils, though these are some of the really great ones. So we're going to begin with chamomile, and there's two different chamomiles. There is German chamomile and Roman chamomile, and we're going to begin with German chamomile. It's also sometimes referred to as blue chamomile, and it's literally blue. The oil is blue. And so you do need to keep that in mind when you're thinking about using it, because it will stain clothing. Sometimes it will stain the skin if it's used directly and not in dilution. But yeah, that's something, it is blue. So it's something to think about. So German chamomile is a mid-note, and this is just a personal experience in working with chamomile. I really think of chamomile as a base note. It really lingers and is heavy in that way to me that base note oils are. So I would classify it as a mid to base oil. It's in the Materia Medica as a mid note. So, you know, you should experiment with it and see what you think and see how it feels to you. So mid note, it's the flowers and the stems that are distilled. It's cooling. It has channel affiliation with the liver and the heart. It's a 6% dilution, and its only caution, contraindication is people with ragweed allergy. It's in the same family, and it can trigger an allergic response for those people. And so people will know that, so just, you know, ask them. It's in the categories of clear heat, mainly from the liver, calm Shen, and regulate qi, again, really with the liver. And it's sort of the combination of this clearing heat, liver heat, and regulating liver qi that is so calming to the Shen. And it has lots of functions. So I'm not going to write it up here again to save space, but this is German or blue chamomile. It regulates liver qi. Let's see, especially in the uterus. So it can be used with premature labor, sore breasts, or it says reduce milk flow. I'm thinking that it will help promote milk flow, that it's helpful when milk flow is low. And it clears liver fire and subdues liver wind. And it harmonizes the liver and helps it not overact on the spleen and stomach. Liver overacting on spleen and stomach. And it calms the Shen, helpful for anxiety. So headaches, anger outbursts, spasm, painful periods, reflux, cracked nipples, red eyes. And then this is a really cool use of chamomile that's super effective, is that you put it on the soles of the feet for fever, to bring down a child's fever. You can use it for adults too, but I guess kids are a little bit more prone to fever. But that's a great use of chamomile. And then some of the other ones that that aren't listed in the clear functions of the Materia Medica that I've learned through Jeffrey and Josephine. Jeffrey Yuen says that this is the essential oil equivalent of milk thistle. And it's great for excess heat and stagnation, especially in the liver. And a note of comparison between the German chamomile and the Roman chamomile. The German chamomile is stronger, sharper, and more active physically. So you might use this one more for like fever and physical things, and maybe the one we're going to speak about next, the Roman, for more for Shen issues, but they're both have their place there. This is good for people who are resentful and to help people feel like what they have is enough. It's active on liver 5 and liver 3. It's also been likened to Xiao Chai Hutong. Can help for when somebody is prone to angry outbursts. And can help reduce resentment. And it can also help to shorten the healing time for burns. And this is an oil that is often adulterated, so you want to be sure you're getting it from a great source. And then Roman chamomile, or sometimes called English chamomile. It's again mid-note. I'll throw in my little plug for base. It's again flowers and stems. Let me see if there's. Okay, yeah, we've got it. It's cool. This one acts on liver and spleen, whereas the German chamomile is liver and heart. It's a 10% dilution. And again, we have the ragweed, caution. And then categories: clear heat, liver, subdue wind, and it could be thought to be doing this by nourishing blood, so could possibly be in the nourished blood category too. Regulate qi. Yes, and then nourish blood, and that's liver, nourishing liver blood. So these are the 4 categories we've got: clear heat, subdue wind, nourish blood, and regulate qi. And for straight functions out of the book, we've got regulate liver qi and liver fire. Nourish liver blood. And therefore subdue wind. And calm the Shen. Irritability, restlessness, insomnia. With this regulate liver qi and clear liver fire, can we kind of just help to chill out liver's tendency to overact on the spleen and stomach. It can help with the anger, nausea, dyspepsia, lack of appetite, and vomiting during pregnancy. Roman chamomile is a lot like Bai Xiao. Some of these essential oils kind of have a match in the herbal materia medica, and this one's very similar to Bai Xiao. Added functions that I have in my notes, let's see, cystic breasts. Can help for people who suffer from a feeling of being inferior and feel like they're being picked on. It actually can increase red and white blood cell count. I'm assuming that's going to be with the internal use. Especially with cedar wood, it can help you try again after failure, to be willing to try again after a failure. And it's helpful for people working with the eating disorder. And it can also be helpful with children who are teething. So those are the chamomiles. And I can try to remember to bring both of those so you can kind of compare them. I'll make a note of that. And hopefully I'll remember. And then I feel like we've talked about frankincense, but when I went back through the individual oils we covered, didn't look like it. So we'll go ahead and cover frankincense. Such a wonderful oil. Maybe I feel like we've covered it because I love it so much and use it so often. It's on my mind. So frankincense is a base note. It is slightly cooling. It's a gum resin. It goes to the lung, heart, and kidney. What a cool combination of those three. It's an 8% dilution. It's not for kids and not for pregnancy. Actions are expectorant, vulnerary, and sedative. And then for categories, we've got clear heat. And it does this from all the channels that it enters. Lung, heart. Oh, wait, what did I? And kidney. Okay. And then it's really lung and the heart, though. I'm not going to say that it clears kidney heat. That's not so much of a thing. And then invigorates blood. And calm Shen. Leave those there for a moment as we go over the functions. So this is an important function relaxes the diaphragm. And why this is so important, it says it's, promoting the circulation of lung qi, helps to bring on deep breathing, it's helpful for asthma and bronchitis. So those are some, physical signs and symptoms that it can be helpful with by its function of relaxing the diaphragm. And then in terms of Shen function, how this helps is that this opens the dynamic. By relaxing the diaphragm, we're opening the dynamic to allow heart and kidney communication to open back up. So this is a great oil for Shen and spirit disturbances where the heart and the kidney are not communicating or not communicating well. It invigorates the blood. And in that way can calm the Shen. And this can be a tricky one, because sometimes somebody with anxiety, irritability, agitation, insomnia, worry, and depression, some of the signs and symptoms listed with this function in your Materia Medica, they're going to feel good if you invigorate the blood. It's going to give them some relief. It's going to unstick things emotionally, but this also has the consequence of kind of opening the floodgate. So you need to be careful. I've had experience with a patient who I gave this to, who I thought it was a great fit, and I do think it was a good fit, but it just proved to be too much. It was too much for her. She couldn't handle what got freed up when the blood was invigorated in this way, and that heart kidney communication was opened in this way. So sometimes you might want to start a little more gentle. It depends on the person, but that's just something to think about with this invigorate blood to calm Shen function. It clears heat in the lungs. Helpful for coughing and wheezing, and it also clears heat in the stomach, which is sort of a secondary channel that it goes to. So I have that over there, and it does say it clears heat in the kidneys, and it gives the reference of cystitis. So there's that. Reduces swelling and treats non-healing wounds. This is such a cool function of this. So reduce swelling, and then non-healing wounds. It's great on ulcers, scars. It helps break up scar tissue, and it helps rejuvenate and regenerate new skin. So that's really important and a great way to use frankincense. Strong antioxidant, can be used as a fixative in a formula. And then in addition to these functions listed in the text of your Materia Medica, I'll just go over some of the other things that I've been taught. With sandalwood, it's very strong to open the heart, and that actually can soothe out that that invigorate blood reaction that can happen. Sandalwood can help to soften that a little bit, so they're really nice in combination, frankincense and sandalwood. It cultivates the ability to see things with clarity and detachment, and that healthy type of detachment. It's very active on the chest. It can be very helpful for somebody transitioning from survival mode to interactive mode, and that's really that lung affinity. But for somebody that's just been stuck in the how do I make it moment to moment, to being able to relax and interact with their surroundings in a healthy two-way type of conversation. So it's helpful for people who are at that point in their healing where they're able to be making that transition out of survival mode and into interaction mode. Let's see. This helps the mind to accommodate all experiences. Historically, it's an important religious oil. It's known to enhance meditation and to increase the level of unattached consciousness. Again, that detachment piece. It helps one to receive yin at the point that it is transforming. And I have the note of, in parentheses there, like at sunset. So receiving yin as it is transforming helps to liberate, helps to free from sadness, helps to engender spiritual compassion. And it's that circulation of lung qi by relaxing the diaphragm is very calming. Calms the Shen through equalizing and helps to bring perspective. So frankincense is awesome. The next oil is one that we've covered. We're just going to touch back in with. We're going to lavender. And lavender is very calming to the Shen by soothing the liver and diffusing lung qi. It can be irritating or agitating, so just keep that in mind and understand who you're working with. And often just asking somebody if they like lavender is going to be your key to whether or not it's going to be a nice calm Shen oil for them or whether it's going to be irritating. And then mandarin. So we used mandarin in that last formula, but then I have down here that we haven't covered mandarin in detail. And my memory is kind of blanking on me, so we'll go ahead and cover it in detail. It's a top note, it's a peel, it's cooling. It goes to the liver, spleen, and stomach. And it's an 8% dilution. Antispasmodic, calming, and hypnotic are its actions. The categories it's in are calm Shen, subdue wind, and regulate qi. It's the safest orange oil for children. Helps them to be loving, soft, and adaptable. Slightly photosensitive, but it is the least photosensitive of all the citrus essential oils. Functions are to strengthen the spleen's transformation. Poor appetite, digestion, dampness, recovery from an illness, descends stomach qi. For hiccups, epigastric pain, colic, belching, indigestion, calm Shen. Insomnia, restlessness, agitation, and hyperactive children. Subdues internal wind, epilepsy, and spasm. It can help to regenerate skin cells, reduce stretch marks. It's good for fullness of the heart and pericardium low. Helpful for liver overacting on the spleen and regulating gallbladder function. As steam inhalation is good for epilepsy and seizure, and is strong to regulate stomach qi and strengthen the spleen. So it's a good calm Shen oil, and it's a really nice gentle calm Shen oil to use with children. And then another one that we have covered, so I'll just chat about it briefly, is mimosa. And mimosa is helpful in the calm Shen category as it calms the Shen, clears fire toxins, and helps people who want to connect but don't want to be touched. And it can be helpful when someone's hysterical. It can help to bring them out of that hysterical state. And another one of my favorite oils, sandalwood. Base. It's wood and root that is distilled. Excuse me. It's cool, but not too cooling, just slightly cooling. Goes to lung, spleen, kidney, bladder. It's a 10% dilution. No contraindications. Actions of urogenital, antiseptic, diuretic, antispasmodic, antidepressant, and expectorant. Categories. We have clear, heat, dry, damp. And that's especially lower jiao. And calm Shen. So this is sandalwood. It's active on the dai mai and helps to drain the dai mai. It is also active on the bao mai, opening the bao mai, allowing for heart-kidney communication. So it's like frankincense in that way. Okay. Go over these three functions that you have listed in your Materia Medica. Clear, damp, heat, lower heater. Opens the diaphragm to move qi. And calms Shen, spirit. So this first function of clearing damp heat in the lower heater can transform how we think about things. And then opening the diaphragm to move qi makes it helpful for cough, nausea, phlegm, heartburn, and calming the Shen and the spirit, insomnia, anxiety, restlessness, running piglet qi. It's helpful for running piglet qi. And this insomnia, it's especially helpful for insomnia where the heart and the kidney aren't communicating. It can be thought of as an aphrodisiac. It helps to see what we are helps us to see what we are fixated on and clinging to. Can be helpful over varicose veins due to sinking spleen qi. It's often adulterated, need to be careful with that. If it has a really strong and fast scent, it's probably been adulterated. Sandalwood is one of those ones where just by opening the bottle and smelling it, you're not going to get a whole lot. You might need to put a drop out onto a cotton ball and sniff it that way. It's very strong to calm Shen. It helps for stress that is related to the environment. It's helpful when there's a parasitic influence, those parasites that thrive in damp heat. It can be helpful for somebody that's nagged a lot in their environment. It can help to relieve pensiveness. It's equally effective on the upper jiao and the lower jiao. So it's really doing a lot of that qi moving in the upper jiao and that clearing damp heat in the lower jiao. And active on Ren 15 for the Bao Mai. It can increase our awareness of our environment and help us to distinguish what is real and true, can get feedback. Can help one to be receptive to feedback. So that is sandalwood. And we're going to jump all the way to the V's and discuss vetiver. Vetiver is a bass note. It's the root that is distilled. It's cool. Goes to the liver and the heart. Good for calming Shen. 8% dilution. No contraindications. Actions are circulatory stimulant, immunostimulant, emmenagogue, nervine, and antispasmodic. Categories of cool blood, calm Shen. And it's a lot like Dangui. And this bass note, it slows the evaporation of top notes. It's often used for this purpose in colognes. It's a really common addition in men's colognes. So it's also nice. Some men can be a little reluctant to wearing an essential oil if it's too flowery, or just this is one that feels more masculine. And it also, a lot of women don't like to smell too flowery or perfumey either. And vetiver is a nice calm Shen, nourish blood, regulate qi oil that just has this kind of a subtle, non-flowery scent. This is okay. Functions: nourish and invigorate blood. Clear heat in the blood, calm Shen. Regulate liver qi. And this says tone the sinews. Strengthening connective tissue. And then I have a note that it also strongly relaxes the sinews. Used as a liniment for sprains and weak muscles, good for heat at the blood level. And I also have a note that vetiver is the essential oil with the biggest range, nourishing blood, invigorating blood, clearing heat in the blood, and calming the Shen. So that's really working on most everything. It's very helpful to enhance a sense of belongingness, to enhance one's awareness of their environment. It's good for people who are afraid of being in the public. And it's good for people who are searching too hard for a role model. It's also good for people who are clinging to identity. It helps to root the mind. It's very strong to root the mind. And then as a side note, with that clinging to identity, if you overuse it, it can create an over-attachment to who you think you are. So without overuse, it can help somebody to not cling to their identity. But with overuse, it can help somebody become over-attached to that story of who they think they are. So, you know, think of that in terms of daily cologne use over years. It's good for repressed anger and liver yang rising. And it helps to build back from deficiency to allow things to flow smoothly again. So that's vetiver. And then we're going to do just 2 more individuals in the Calm Shen category, and then we'll stop this video before we move on to the other categories, which don't have that many new oils, so those will move through much more quickly. So violet. And I was a little torn on whether to include violet or not. It won't take too long to go over, which will be helpful. But it's an absolute. It's usually in dilution. It's extremely expensive, so I was a little reluctant to include it. But I do think it's a good one to know about. Obviously, you're only going to use it topically because it's an absolute. I've never seen it as a not as an absolute. I hear it exists, but okay. So the base note, it's primarily the leaves that are distilled, not the flowers. It might have some flowers in there with it, but typically it's the leaves. It's cooling, lung, heart, kidney. Pretty common for Shen calming herbs. It's a 4% dilution. Just has cold and empty yang as contraindications. It clears categories are clear heat, that's in the lung, clear fire toxins, and calm Shen, and tonified qi. It's active on the Chong Mai. So I'd say right there is a good reason to keep violet around. It's active is particularly on the abdominal and chest trajectories of the Chong Mai. Functions: tonified lung qi, clear lung heat. Heart-kidney communication. Strongly clears lung heat. And then the lung is really the crux on how heart-kidney communication happens. So these two are really related, the lung functions and the heart-kidney communication. Calm Shen and strengthen heart qi. Insomnia, worry, nervousness, and anxiety. And clears fire toxins and hot sores from the skin. Fire toxins from the skin. Opens the Chong Mai, good for wind heat, heart-kidney communication, active on the Chong Mai, but you want to get that action, you would use it specifically in a Chong Mai treatment. So yeah, that is violet. And then the last oil we're going to cover from the Calm Shen category specifically is Lang Lang. And this is a very floral oil. Mid-base note. Flowers are what is distilled. It is cooling, goes to liver, heart, kidney. It's a 10% dilution. Contraindication of cold and empty yang. Its categories are cool blood and Calm Shen. There's our basics, including the categories: cool blood, Calm Shen. Functions: clear blood, heat, high blood pressure, tachycardia, palpitations, nervousness, agitation, insomnia, anxiety, rapid breathing, clears excess heat. Calms Shen. Arouses kidney essence. We will talk more about that. So those are the main functions in there. It can be used in shampoo to promote hair growth, in a blend for deficient kidney yin. Okay, and now sort of talk about the other things that make Lang Lang so special and need to be considered as well. So it is a fixative oil. It's a pushy oil. Lots of flower oils are really pushy, and Lang Lang is pushy. You'll know it as soon as you smell it. Like it's in your face, floral. It's often used as a perfume oil. It can be an aphrodisiac. It's arousing that kidney essence. And it can be helpful for impotence. So a really important note about this arousing kidney essence, this is for when kidney essence is low due to stagnation, not deficiency. And it brings with it the potential to plunder the kidney essence, either from overuse, even if you're using it in the stagnation, when there's kidney essence stagnation, but it is particularly if there's low libido and impotence and these sorts of things from deficiency. So you can't arouse something that's deficient, or you can arouse it and then poof, you're going to use it up immediately. So this is really for arousing stagnant, for kidney essence when there is stagnation. So this is important, and it can make it a tricky oil to use. You want to be very sure when you're using Lang Lang that you're using it in a case of stagnation and not a case of deficiency. And even if it is a case of stagnation, you don't want to overuse it, because it can still cause that plunder of kidney yang. So you always want to use it in rotation. You don't want to use it for an extended period of time. And again, with the shampoo to promote hair growth, again, if you're needing this due to stagnation, if there's no essence to be aroused, it's not going to be helpful and could actually be very unhelpful. Let's see, strong to clear heat in the blood. Good for someone who has a tendency to really seek glamour and wanting to stand out. This can help to work with that. and it does this by allowing somebody to feel special just as they are. It can be helpful with people who are impulsive, and it can be effective with narcissistic personality disorder. And again, it's that seeking attention, and that's a pretty deep thing to work with, and to help somebody to not need the constant affirmation of seeing themselves and everybody else and wanting everybody else to see them, but of feeling good with who they just truly are. So that's Lang Lang, and that's where we will stop this portion of Module 7. And when we come back to Module 7, we'll be looking at oils that clear heat, and are helpful with working with the Shen and the Spirit.